Riders and grinders, welcome to the SkateTank MMA podcast with the Idaho Skatesman and Hank the mother-loving Tank, of course. And it is a historic time because Hank the Tank and Skatesman, we switched the format up. And you know what? There were no crash outs for Saturday. Zero crash outs. And I know some of you might be very disappointed with that and are used to Hank the Tank's nervous energy and toxicity and lashing out in projection. But I just need a mental health day, okay? I wanted to put all of that negative energy onto Skatesman because I knew that he would soak it up like a tree with all the pollutants of the atmosphere and get oxygen would come out instead. He just takes it in like a sponge and then he turns it into somewhat neutral energy, which isn't positive, isn't negative, but you know what? It's preferred. So there you go. And then Hank the Tank did his post show. And hey, even Capitan Rafuccio showed up for it, for God's sake. It is a historical event when Capitan Rafuccio is in the SkateTank MMA chat. So hey, fantastic Saturday from the Skatesman and the Tank. And we'll see where we go from here. But and again, I told Skatesman about this before the show started, but like usually I'm in a sour mood because certain results happened and certain fights didn't turn out a way, or there's bullshit or corruption here and there. But honestly, guys, like, I don't know what to think about this show. I really think, like, the description, it's one of the cards of all time. It's just it's the card, and it happened. And you know what? I don't feel positive or negative to it. I'm feeling like the Skatesman right now. So honestly, I'm feeling pretty good. Well, how about you, Skatesman? What do you think about it, given you watched it for 6 hours live? I don't give a shit. And the fight's rigged. That's what I was going to say.
I mean, the card was bad. It was really bad.
Real bad.
Yeah, I mean, I feel indifferent though. It's just, I mean, this is when we get something better from the UFC. It's surprising, at this point. I was talking to Isha about this earlier, and maybe you can give me your opinion on this, but it's like, I think that UFC 300 like really ruined the year, and in a lot of different ways, right?
Like saved all the good stuff for that one card.
Well, right. So like that card was really good. There's been other really good UFC cards this year. I don't think that's unfair. But
I'm actually wondering, like, what is the UFC's track record of anniversary shows? And how's that's affected the year?
I thought about that too, because obviously I haven't been watching the sport that long. But so
I mean, the 200 had fucking Nunes and whatever the hell that other ladies did. That wasn't the best.
But it's just like the booking and everything, like all the energy that they put into that show, like and then the Sphere show, they really did try. I don't think that card was like
all that great.
Right, but like just the fact that they booked so many big fights, then the show was really good. Like it just kind of fucked everything up for the year. So looking to next year, because I feel like last year was really good for the UFC.
Yeah, it was solid. Even the short notice replacements they had for the main event, co-main events were good.
But even with like these fight night shows and the Apex shows, like the UFC just. So again, I feel pretty indifferent about the card, which actually just revealed to Hank the Tank it was the third longest card in UFC history.
Seems unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, I did a fight companion for the whole thing, and I would have watched the fights anyway, but I probably would have fell asleep at some point during this card, and I
don't blame you.
Not during the fight. So I mean, the card was bad. Whatever. Just got some fights, and honestly, this weekend and in the last few weekends, I feel like for the UFC have just been bad. Like in MMA in general, have not been good. So
and 308 was pretty good. I'd say it was a solid card, at least an 8 in terms of like fun finishes, really good back and forth action, memorable result in the main event. It's sort of what you want.
With, but like I'm just saying, like that card was good
in general.
Like, before that,
right? Overall,
I mean, he's picking.
So. Well, I mean, it's just a general trend of the fight nights usually being crap, taking place in the Apex, so you don't have to put as much effort into the booking. No need to have stars or big names on there, even small names like certain guys who are just contenders who have had one or two fights. You got
have exciting fights.
Exactly. So they don't feel the need to. They got too big a roster, so eventually got to use some of the worst of the bottom of the barrel of your weight divisions. You got to put them on a card, instead of firing them. So you put them on the Apex cards. And it just sets a bad trend for booking in the future. And they should have kept that one fan booker that won the sweepstakes competition. He would have cleaned the whole thing up.
But, AI to do it. What's
yeah.
up, Paradox? Good to see you. He says he wants a Robin Black impression.
If you took this Canada card and got all the talent and you put it together, that's GSP. Charles Jourdain, Jasmine Jasuda Visigabadouid, Mike Malone. You put them all together, they can be GSP. They're an arm, they're a leg, they're a head, they're the testicles. But you know what? They're all just body parts at the end of the day. They do not stand near the GOAT, the goddess that is George St. Pierre. That is just the truth, okay? We're not going to get the same guy. We had to sacrifice all our Canadian talent for GSP. That is a metaphor for life, Skatesman.
There you go, Paradox. He says, facts, how was the card? Skate, did you enjoy it? I mean, there was fights. The crash out would have been fire if Hank had to do the stream. Can you imagine him during Rose versus Aaron Blanchfield? Like, he would have lost his damn mind, and it would have not been pretty. He would have been cursing everybody out.
Yeah,
look at him. Look at him. Look at him. He's got a smile on his face. Look at this guy. So yeah. But I don't know. I mean, is that what you guys want? Do you want Hank in mental anguish for 7 hours? I certainly do not. And it's harder for me being a part of the channel to see him go through that, because it's like, it's serious mental anguish that my man goes through every Saturday. He does a fucking fight card.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, and it's the same point that you make, Skatesman, I would have been watching it regardless and going through the same emotional process regardless. Maybe it's been exaggerated just a little bit, but at the same, that the pain, this year was bad. Okay, 2024 isn't exactly the best year to watch the UFC, so I probably would have been in pain regardless. But hey, you know what?
But like me being a part of the show, like the public pain being displayed, and then like everybody comes in and tries to go, it's not all that bad, Hank. And you're like, no, fuck you, and fuck everything, and the fight's rigged. So it's hard to watch. Yeah, 300 definitely set the bar way too high. 300 Drew is great, but yeah, not been good the past couple months. Combat Sports Today, what's up, bro? He says, horrible card last night. Yes, and
he's a fan. Paradox Chad's a fan.
He wants to see the crash out.
Well, how about this week? I could do it every once in a while for you guys. Okay, maybe not every week.
When we have a disagreement, like, Hank just loses his mind and he can't recover. So it's like I would do the cards with him, but it's like I can't. I'm staying neutral, and he just, anyway, that's something we're gonna have to talk about, I guess. But he likes it because it's relatable. Save it for a card like that. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, one thing good.
Speaking of really,
I know. I'm gonna segue. One thing good that did come of this card was both Hank the Tank and I absolutely destroyed the Tapology leaderboard this week. I came in first place, my first place finish of the year, and I gotta thank my good friend Hank the Tank for making me step up my pick game. So yeah, I got first place, 775 points. Hank the Tank tied for second. We go down the list here. We got Sean Moody at 15th.
Not bad for Sean Moody.
And our good friend Granite came in at 24th, so
expected.
But yeah,
where denial place?
He didn't make picks.
Oh,
15-point deduction. If you look on here, after my computer's glitching out here.
There he is. Doing
let's see. Oh geez, I got 32nd.
Overall, right?
Yeah, like worldwide on Tapology. Fucking shit.
Yeah. There he is. Move it. Ta-da!
32nd. So
32.
Super stoked about that. There's my little victory lap there. It's not like Hank the Tank, just gloating. But yeah. So yeah, 32nd on Tapology.
I don't gloat. I just state the obvious.
So yeah, I'm stoked. Hank the Tank got second. So, but look, that brings us to 14, 8, and 1 tie now. I'm absolutely fucking killing Hank the Tank on picks for the year, and I'm stoked about that.
But every once in a blue moon, I do really well. But when I get my victories, I have to shove it in people's faces. So just make it, make up for it, to make the fact that I'm losing so badly. But speaking of really, really bad, really, really, really bad, let's talk about Hank the Tank's locks and underdogs for the weekend. Do you remember this guy, Skatesman? Good old Chris Honeycutt. Told you about this guy, American wrestler, feeding him to everybody in ACA. Well, after suffering 6 losses in a row, he finally got a win against the guy that I picked as a lock.
In ACA, nonetheless.
Against him. Yep. Good old Vasiliev, the one. Well, yeah, he's definitely got a 1 on his record now. And he did what the American wrestler is supposed to do, which is take the other guy down, lean on him, and just out-control the other guy for the entirety of the fight. And classic Chris Honeycutt result. And look who won right before that fight, Skatesman. A guy by the name of Evgeny Arokin. Does his name seem familiar? Because he was the first ever lock that Hank the Tank did for this channel. And he can lose against a Brazilian who hasn't won a single fight in ACA and then win as the underdog against a 5-1 opponent. So, ACA and in general, Hank's picks make so much sense. I love MMA logic. So great job. Great stuff from me for ACA. And by the way, the underdog that I had for this card canceled. So didn't even get to see what the result of that one was. And then there was one more, and that was from Cage Warriors. And I did a little bit better. Okay. I saved all my success.
Is absolute dog shit.
Wait, what?
I heard this card, the Cage Warriors card, was really bad.
Yikes. Well, I won't be going through the entire card, that's for sure.
That's coming from Isha himself.
Yes. Yikes. Wow. When Isha tells you it's bad, it must be literally the worst card of all time.
I'm just saying.
But Giuseppe Mastrogiacomo beat Ite Tratner, my Jewish brother. He didn't beat him by round 1 KO, though. He beat him by decision, which is always very disappointing when you got the Hank the Tank method. But this is what I told Skatesman about while he was doing his fight companion. Solomon Simon, the Mohammed Mokayev of Cage Warriors, gets the round 3 last-minute sub over Walter Cogliandro, and he got it done with 6 seconds left in the fight, finding that clutch last-minute sub. So I told the world that he was the Mokayev of Cage Warriors, and it just keeps fucking coming true. So there you go. Hank the Tank's logic being used against him. Terrible week of picks from Hank the Tank.
Yeah, you'll bounce back. I'm sure. Doc said if he was in the group, he'd be first. We'll get in there. What are you doing?
Go ahead.
He says he picked Albazi. Wow, hilarious.
Yeah, that's a bad one.
Combat Sports Today says Naoya Inoue signs with Riyadh season. Interesting.
Oh no. You gotta continue to poison everything I love, don't you, Saudi Arabia?
I mean, that's cool, but like, I guess that'll allow him to be on like somewhat of a bigger platform internationally.
Yeah. So that we could actually watch
him at a proper time. With Top Rank, who I believe airs those cards. But I think that Tricky Al Sheik wants to move to working with the Zone more. I don't know who he's like. What does that do opponent wise for him? I guess he's already got nobody to fight. He is booked to fight Tim Goodman, I believe.
Yeah, which is the necessary opponent he has to fight.
Mandatory, yeah. Yeah, I don't know what that really does for him. I just hope he gets a bigger check. So thank you for that bit of news there at CST. Appreciate you, man. What is up, Antoine? He says, "Yo, good evening, guys. Hope you guys had a great day." Yeah, I've just been doing.
Thanks, Antoine.
Yeah, doing nothing.
Me too. Actually, I got a little bit of work done. That's nice.
Speaking of nothing, UFC Fight Night Edmonton was a big fat nothing burger. We'll get right into the picks. Antoine says, "How do you feel about the Saudis coming into MMA? They've honestly given us some fire cards. They paid Dana so much. I don't care. Again, I just view it as I feel indifferent about it. It's like cool. I don't know. It's I don't like sports washing, but that's
me
my
neither.
opinion, I guess.
Yeah. And then in my opinion, I just view Abu Dhabi and Riyadh, Saudi Arabia is similar to like Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, when they fly over there. And that, when it comes to going overseas for shows, you get the usual weird shit at the scales, and then certain moments from the referees and the judges that go the way that they wanted to. And it's not just exclusive to the Middle East. It's all over the place when the UFC comes to town. So honestly, I just see them as one of those.
It's another destination,
Not bigger, not smaller. Yes, exactly.
I mean, look, objectively though, like, I wanted to say like whatever gets the fighters paid more, and like Turkey Al-Sheikh controls that when it's in boxing, but like fighters are gonna get paid the same regardless. I'm glad that you did mention like the crowds though, because like those Saudi Arabian crowds are not good. They don't really know what's happening.
Really bad.
We at least get like big cards, but again, it's kind of like the UFC 300 syndrome, right? Like if you overbook one card, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, and like the next card's gonna suffer. So,
yeah, the next 4 or 5.
Yeah, Combat Sports Today says Nick Ball, Ray Ford, and possibly Gervonta Tank Davis. Yeah, please no, I don't want to. Naoya Inoue get his head knocked clean off his body by Tank.
Yeah, I'll get destroyed.
Nick Ball is a Chad. Yes, he is. So yeah, speaking of terrible things, we'll get right into it. Break down the whole card. All 13 fights, all 6.5 hours of runtime of this really bad show. We start off with Ivana Petrovic losing a decision to Jamie Lynn Horth. It was a pretty competitive fight. Petrovic looked like to be winning at first, but then just kind of fumbled it. Horth did better on the feet. Ivana Petrovic has no hands, and Hank the Dank correctly broke that down in the preview show, and it just held true as the fight went on. There was like a moment where she appeared to be hurt. I think she had like a wardrobe malfunction, but yeah, just did largely nothing on the feet and not enough on the ground to actually.
It's a moment of luck. Yeah. Honestly, Jamie Lynn Horth had a worse performance than I thought she would, because honestly, the moments that she found success on the feet were pretty lucky. Again, that boob slippage, so her literally freezing against the cage for 5 seconds and allowing her to hit her with combinations.
I think it takes internet.
Yes, exactly. And there were just moments where Petrovic was having the better exchanges, and then there'd just be some counter grappling and a lot of nothing going on. So it's not like Jamie Lynn Horth put a stamp on this fight. It was very back and forth, very competitive. Went to a split decision that went Horth's way, but honestly, a bad showing from both women and a horrible way to start this absolutely trash card. But hey, she was able to get the better of the scrambles, so there's the luck.
No chill. What's going on? He says, Jamie, sexy lady, Lynn Horth. Less Apex, more Saudi. Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. Imagine paying $350 to be in the bleachers for that show. Dude, I paid $300 to sit third row at the first one Denver card, and I paid $500 to sit fucking front row cage side at this show right here. Haggerty versus Super Leg. So yeah,
that was worth it.
Bargain. Super worth it. It was fantastic. Next fight was Cody Gibson beating Chad Anheliger. He fucking mauled Chad Anheliger for this entire contest. Chad had one moment of success where he landed a good right hand, and that was literally it. I think that was even in the first or second round. That was it, dude. Cody Gibson looked fantastic. I said like he looked like Cody Gibson off. He fucking just mauled poor Chad Anheliger in front of the hometown crowd. It was nice to see him, and I didn't know this beforehand. Like he trains at a Team Alpha Male, and you could really see like he had a huge size advantage on Chad, and he just fucking mauled him. The fight wasn't competitive for a moment.
Yeah, and I thought this fight would go this way. Because just from Cody Gibson's last fight with Brian Kelleher, when he was able to get him down, he worked for advantageous positions and he found that submission. And there were times where he came pretty close to getting that same head and arm choke on Chad Anheliger. at a moment, especially the end of the second round where like he was squeezing really tightly and then locking in one-armed chokes as well, like trying whatever he could, Darce, anything to submit Chad and Helliger. But a lot of this was just won with the takedowns. I feel like Cody Gibson's wrestling is highly underrated. And when I saw that performance against Kelger, I just thought to myself, he could have gotten that done on the feet, but he chose to grapple in order to get the finish. And so I feel like he's going to take this same approach to his fight with Chad, and he's going to get those takedowns and at least win 2 out of the 3 rounds. I thought that Cody won every single round here. And he did his best to improve positions, and there were moments where he locked up a sub. And if I were to compare his work, like I'd say Usman Nurmagomedov, where it's like a lot of it is grappling, a lot of it. And then every once in a while, holy shit, the sub attempts in. Oh my God, he's so close to getting a nasty finish. Oh no, he let it go. So now the rest of the fight's going to be a lot of grappling. And you know what? Cody Gibson's American. So, hey, I'll take it, brother. And if he can do some scrambles in the grappling and make it exciting in moments, I'm going to still root for Cody Gibson at the end of the day. So let's fucking go America. Show those Canadians who's boss.
Take this approach to his fights as well, like just him being 37.
Right. Smart.
Says, I'm happy that Cody got to live his dream event at 37. He was teaching all those years and never gave up. It's like an MMA. It's like the MMA movie Warrior.
That is a good movie. It's a good one. And also, I discussed there was a tier list of like the nicest UFC fighters that I did a couple days ago. One of the fighters that I included was Rich Franklin, who moved on from his years as a math teacher to going on to be one of the greatest MMA middleweights in the world. So it's a real life story. It's pretty cool.
What's up, Matua? Good to see you.
Hey, Matua.
The next fight that happened was Sergey City taking on Garrett Armfield. It's a pretty close competitive match. And even by the end of the fight, Sergey, when the decision was ready, he was like, oh shit, I won. Definitely was close. I definitely thought Garrett did more work with the boxing specifically and with some of the takedowns. Sergey definitely has to work on like his conventional kickboxing. But he does have nice like spinny shit. He has nice kicks.
Right.
It was a close fight. I mean, and honestly, like a big theme of this card, you'll hear me say this a lot. Like, there was a lot of fighters on this card that lose the decision when they don't do enough.
Mm-hmm.
And this was just another one of those cards where like you couldn't really say like any fight was like a robbery or a bad decision.
Yeah.
A lot of fighters just didn't do a lot in any of these fights. So that was the case here. Like, I thought Garrett Armfield won, but it wasn't controversial in my opinion. Even though Sergey, by the time the split decision had been read, he was not sure he won. He looked very surprised.
Yeah. It's a case of, I think, Garrett Armfield out-volumed Sergey City in terms of total strikes, but City was able to use his tall frame to get some big knees or some big combinations that were impactful. And so that, wowed the judges or were the major highlights of the fight. And that's very subjective how you want to score that. But I did think that Armfield was putting together more combinations and he came really close to winning that fight against Brady Highstand before he got tapped out. So Armfield's doing well in all of his fights before, the end of the fight, which takes the win away from him. So another unfortunate string of bad luck for Garrett Armfield. I still think this kid has a lot of talent, and just based on these last 2 fights, like I wouldn't mind picking him again. They put him up against a decent bantamweight fighter. So, chin up Garrett Armfield. You'll find your way eventually.
Matua says the Apex match should have been snow covered and the cage should have been made out of ice. The ring card girls should have been polar bears. Yeah, I don't think they were up north enough, but Edmonton's pretty far up there. So.
Yeah, and they weren't in the sphere either, so I don't think they would be able to do that.
Name of this card? Good question. Yeah, it was just fighters that don't do a lot, and the next fight was reflective of that. Alexander Romanov, again, just mauls Rodrigo Nascimento pretty much the entire fight. But by the third round, Romanov was like so gassed, and of
course
Nascimento was too, that they had a really sloppy, just barroom brawl. Romanov does not know how to throw a jab, and he had like this lean forward stance the whole time, and he was just clipping Nascimento with the left hand. He never saw it coming.
Yeah.
I'm happy that Romanov like went the distance and got a win.
He usually
He's a
doesn't.
fat fuck. He's probably always going to be a fat fuck. But
Mm-hmm.
you know what? If you're able to go the distance, being a fat fuck, that's going to play well. And he has good grappling, but that's really what gasses him out. But unfortunately, he's got to stick with it because he has no hands really either. So
Yeah, exactly. A lot of the early half of this fight was Romanov getting the clinch, taking the back, pushing him down, knee, Marab, get him up, grab the hips, push him down. You know, lots of classic vintage Alexander Romanov shit. And then as the fight progressed, he started to keep it on the feet a little bit with Rodrigo because he was gassed. But yeah, he was able to get that left hand, as Skatesman said, when he needed to. That's what ended up winning him the fight at the end of the day. Rodrigo Nascimento is pretty shit on the feet, and anyone who chooses to be the aggressor can clip him if they want to. And me and Skatesman called it right that Nascimento really isn't that deserving of the bottom of or to be ranked at heavyweight at this point, just because of the name he's beaten in such close fights. And then when he actually has talent, they beat his ass.
Yeah. So what's next for Romanov? They have him currently at 16th here in the Tapology rankings. Anything you want to see next for the guy? Maybe like a prospect fight or a fight up the rankings?
I don't know if he deserves a fight up the rankings. Like, he's just not at the level where he's a threat. It's just, yeah, give him number 11, give him number 12. I'd say have him fight one more guy who's just outside the rankings. And if he puts on a more impressive performance than he did here and maybe finds a finish, then you could give him a guy up the rankings. That's my opinion. We need to have more killers at heavyweight because we got a lot of sloppy and very unimpactful heavyweights at the bottom of the rankings, in my opinion.
I mean, because like underneath him is like there's Waldo Cortez Acosta. That's going to be a terrible fight.
That is. Honestly, a lot of fights with Romanov are going to be pretty bad.
Shamil Gaziev is right below him.
Oh, that would be so funny. That would be a spectacle of a fight. That's one I want to see.
That'd be another fat heavyweighty fight. There is a guy coming up the rankings that looks impressive, putting on fun fights is Mick Parkin, but I think that Romanov would kind of might even beat him, and that wouldn't be very fun to watch. So,
Matua is recommending Johnny Walker's brother, Walter.
Let's do it.
Yeah, that sounds.
What's the fucking name? Walter
Walker.
On paper, Romanov is still young for heavyweight. He might be able to turn it around. Yeah, Walter Walker could work for sure. I mean, like I said, he's always going to be fat, so I like to see him. I mean, I feel like he wasn't this fat always.
Yeah. No, and then he started to let go and then really be a fat heavyweight and try to take down his opponents. And then they gave him Alexander Volkov as a punishment for him getting fat.
Yeah. You got to get in somewhat of shape, I feel like, Mr. Romanov.
All right, give him some time to diet, all right? He'll get in good shape eventually.
I mean, he moved to Las Vegas. Go start working with the PI. That's all I got to say. One of the best the best finish of the entire card right here was Youssef Zalal having he kind of dominated Jack Shore in the first round. I feel like clear Youssef Zalal 10-9. Jack Shore had his moments though. I can't really remember what they were, but he didn't look terrible. He's hanging in there. The fight was somewhat competitive, and then all of a sudden Jack Shore like leans in ill-advised for a takedown, and he catches a knee right up the middle, fucking puts him down. He was damn near knocked out by that knee, and Zalal goes in for the choke, man. Gets it in 50 seconds of the second round. Fantastic fucking stuff for Youssef Zalal. And getting it done over Jack Shore, who, like, I don't think he's been finished very much. I don't even think he's been finished in the UFC. There was a TKO was his last loss, but that was due to a shin cut that was getting pretty bad, and they decided to call the fight. But holy shit, man. Fucking sick finish for Zalal over a tough prospect. And shit, man, he's looking so good in this second UFC run.
Absolutely. He's looking good on the feet, quick, slick, on the ground. He's very dominant. Had a sort of a close fight with close round with Jack Shore in round one. I think he did win it, but from what Skatesman was telling me, and I remember you said this right after the finish from Zalal. Oh, he had a little bit of a tricky first round. Sort of an iffy first round, but then he came back and he really started to put two and two together. And it's good to know that Zalal isn't just like a Michel Pereira where it's like, oh, it's one round. hitter quitter. I have to get him out of there really quick or else I'm in trouble. Like, looks like he had his cardio and his mentality straight enough in the second round that he was able to find that knee towards the middle of it. Absolutely beautiful, sick, perfectly timed knee right down the middle. You know that somebody's a prospect when their timing is good enough that they can find that knee when someone's ducking in their head. And then was able to get the head and arm triangle choke. Didn't even have to move his hips all the way to the other side of his opponent to get him out of there. All he had to do was fucking squeeze. So he's got a crazy ass submission bicep grip, and that's always scary. We know about that with Hamzat. And then I will say his post-fight interview was also really good, where he shouted out the Oilers, made sure the crowd was on his side, even though he wasn't from Canada, and then said, dude, I had a rough first run, but I learned from it, and Taporia couldn't finish me, and he beat me, but now I'm coming back, and I'm better than ever, and I'm going to, alhamdulillah, I'm coming for that belt, and he just sounded super relatable and excited. Like, there were moments where he was, like, grabbing the microphone, hey, what's up, guys, what's up? And, like, it reminded me of Moicano a little bit when he said, hey, give me that mic, I'm going to talk from now on. But he was super nice about it too. So I like this kid. I love everything about this kid.
Youssef Zalal, like, not only killing it in the cage, having exciting performances, like killing it on the mic. So he's doing everything.
He's got great personality
at this level of the UFC to get
A+
the rankings. Speaking of that, what's next for Youssef Zalal? They have him here at 2021, and now he's on a fucking hell of a win streak here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fight win streak.
Good shit.
What's next for a guy like Youssef Zalal? They have him on Tapology at 21. I mean,
21.
There's really no bad fights to make with some guys below him. I'll start at 24th. Steve Garcia, Nathaniel Wood, William Gomez. Just above him would be Bruce Leroy coming off of 2 losses. Burrito coming off a loss. Sadiq Youssef coming off a loss. Yeah,
I was going to say that I do like him and Burrito, because Burrito had a very close decision with Gomez. It's not like, oh, he got knocked out, he needs a lot of time off. Like, some people argued that Burrito won that fight. So, if he's still got some stock, that'd be a great fight. And they're both very similar frames and heights too. I think that'd be super fun.
I agree. Yeah, that'd be a sick fight. His debut was great. He was in great shape for. Oh, he's talking about Romanov. Excellent win for Zalal. Zalal knocking on the door of a ranked opportunity. Great win. Measured temperament. Burrito would be nice. Yeah, I think that's probably
all right.
One of the more exciting fights you can make. But really, you can't go wrong matchmaking Zalal at this point, man.
I wouldn't even be angry with him and Steve Garcia. I don't know who to win that fight. That'd be a crazy ass fight.
Yeah, give him anybody. Give the kid what he wants.
It's good to know that there are a lot of monsters at featherweight now. Like, it felt like there was a rough patch. Yeah, but it's good, man.
Said that 155 is the best division, the deepest division, like even down the rankings. And I also said that 135 is the best division, but 145, dude, it's getting there, man. That might actually be the best division in the sport, in my opinion. So, crazy story for Zalal too, who was cut after the first and came back. The UFC takes a lot of mental toughness. William Gomez and Zalal would be fired. Burrito too. Yeah, like I said, do whatever with this kid.
Knew him.
Speaking of a new him, Charles Jourdain down at bantamweight for the first time. Definitely wasn't super high on Victor Henry's chances heading into this fight. I knew that Victor Henry would at least be a live body, put up a fight. But yeah, I mean, the 37-year-old Victor Henry at bantamweight, I mean, it is what it is. But Charles Jourdain gets a good win. He gets the submission in round 2 after dealing with some good grappling exchanges from Victor Henry. He just was relentless on getting the guillotine locked up.
Gilly Goose Gang.
For the whole fight. I mean, really, he was relentless on that shit. I said he did struggle off his back, but he has had submissions off his back before. There was a sequence where Victor Henry stands up, goes in for a takedown, gets the guillotine locked up. Actually, I think it was before he even went for a takedown. Charles Jourdain had locked up the guillotine.
Yeah, it was cinched, and then he pushed himself forward into it.
Exactly, and then he just gets up. I don't think Victor Henry's ever been finished, so Good win for Charles Jourdain, not a win where I'm going like, oh, dude, Charles Jourdain.
Yeah, because he's tall and he's a former featherweight taking on a bantamweight Victor Henry, tiny guy.
Right. So,
but yeah, I'm happy that Charles Jourdain was able to get off a few more shots on the feet compared to his previous couple fights, because it seems like more and more Jourdain's been dependent on snatching that guillotine and getting the better of grappling sequences on the ground. Whereas like against Victor Henry, who's smaller than him, he's got a smaller reach as well. The toughest part for Jourdain, honestly, was the wrestling of Victor Henry, but he found his way to get back up. And then I just saw moments where I was starting to see that explosiveness of Charles Jourdain again, where he hit that big left hand, and unlike a fight with Gene Silva, where it's like none of that shit matters. Gene Silva's just going to keep pressuring forward and hit you with a giant uppercut that kills you. Charles Jourdain could actually, experiment a little bit and show off a little bit with flashy striking and be sort of the old Jourdain that we once knew and loved. But then he still went back to new Jourdain with trying to get that guillotine every single time. Worked for a smaller opponent. I think he went for it like 4 times. 4 times, I think. And then he finally snatched it up, getting back on top, pulled Victor Henry back into the guillotine, and he got it in front of the Canadian crowd. I got to say, even though the card was shit overall, even though like not a lot happened in terms of entertainment value, Canadians in the crowd must have been happy for a lot of this thing, because a lot of their local prospects finally went on a win streak. And I think the last time that really happened was 289 with Oliveira, the Oliveira card, when that was Mike Malott got his second round KO win. So we haven't had a card where things have really gone well for the Canadians since that card. So we finally got another one, and I'm happy to see it, because a lot of the Canadian prospects here I like as a fan. So worked out well.
Shout out to the Canadians too, because they're always a good crowd, even though they get the shittiest cards.
Yes.
Actually, reporting came out that this was the highest grossing fight night like ever in North America. But
yeah,
every fight night's always the highest grossing one. Mm-hmm. So
inflation.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, so what's next for Charles Jourdain at bantamweight? And really, it's like it's hard to gauge like what you do with him, right? Because he does put on good fight.
He's new,
he
though.
loses good, right? Like he gets knocked out or submitted. So like
finishes are great.
But it's like what exactly is the play here with a guy like Charles Jourdain?
It could be sort of it's like a Figueiredo approach, where it's like don't push him up too much, keep him wallowing around in the division to have fights in that pool where he beat the last guy, just to make sure that he's legit and that he's worthy of going up. And then once he proves that he's actually a very practical bantamweight, then you start moving him up. Like you don't do it right out of the gate, or else you're going to waste his opportunity at bantamweight as well. You have to have him like sort of sink into the division, and then once he's more firmly established, then you start. He's not all that old either, so you can give him a few fights where he's at right now.
Right. It's just there's
glad he won his debut as well, or else we really would have had trouble deciding what to do with Jourdain.
It's just like where do you match him up like against another prospect? A guy you want to kind of get out of the division. It's tough to say, I think. Some guys coming up around his ranking on Tapology would be Gian Matsumoto, Daniel Santos.
That'd be close. Okay.
Raul Rosas, probably not the fight to get
no.
him. Up above him, just barely, would be a guy coming off a loss, John Castaneda. I think that'd be a decent fight. There is the Douglas Silva de Andrade match.
I like that fight a lot. That sounds.
I think
good.
that'd be a tough test for him. Silva de Andrade coming off a loss, but definitely always a fun fight to see Silva de Andrade, and that would be like kind of a crossroads fight for him. A little higher up the rankings though is Taylor Lapalus. I think that would be a really fun kickboxing match.
Yeah, but that I think Jourdain would lose. By the way.
Yeah, same. It would be definitely tough. I don't know. I don't know where he lands, but something will materialize for him, and always good fights there at 135 for him.
Hey, we're not the ones who book the UFC. The UFC books the fights, but we will give them a few pointers.
No, they listen to this show. Featherweight looking like the most vicious and highly skilled all around. I agree.
Yes, sir.
Victor Henry's 37. How do you guys feel about fighters 35 plus chasing belts. I think it's different in MMA nowadays with nutrition and stem cells. Yeah, but there's a cutoff. I think the cutoff being middleweight. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you're a middleweight chasing the belt at 35, you have a chance, even with what you propose, like the nutrition and stem cells.
The heavier weight classes tend to help.
There's literally like a stat out there that no fighter under like 170 and under has ever won a belt or defended a title past 35. So that's
because that's more of a fast man's game when you're shorter.
I agree. So yeah, I mean, I don't hate it because there's a lot of 35-year-olds out there still like putting in good work, having good fights, but as far as how I feel about them chasing belts, I don't really care. It's up to them what they want to do. And by the time you've hit that age, you're at your maximum earning potential as well.
Exactly. And so if anything, it's not trying to earn yourself a belt. It's trying to earn yourself a paycheck on your way out. That's what GM3's been doing forever.
Yeah, he's got that fight with
oh God, don't remind me, dude. You're killing
DeMarn Blackshear. I think Blackshear's I think he's a featherweight.
Bantamweight.
Not a bantamweight now. It makes the matchmaking a little different. So
yeah,
either way, something good. Just like Youssef Zalal, like anything would be good from him. The next fight was Amin Zahabi versus Pedro Munoz. I called this fight exactly correctly. Pedro Munoz, a guy that you can't put away, tough to knock out. He did get beat up pretty bad in this fight, but I mean, it kind of sucks to see Pedro Munoz like lose another one because just a staple of this division, always has a decent performance. But again, just a guy that never does enough to win the fight and didn't do enough here. Amin Zahabi got the win. He looked good. He didn't look great, especially coming off of like good knockouts, but shit, man, this is his like toughest opponent he's ever faced, and he passed it with flying colors. So it was nice to see him get the win. Not super high on his prospects as far as like being a contender, but sick win for him.
Yeah, I think what won Ariel Helwani the fight here was that he had a lot of unorthodox right hands that he'd throw every once in a while. Like it just seemed that Pedro Munoz couldn't, for the life of him, especially in the early parts of the fight, find a way to block the left hand when he was throwing it around the guard. Zahabi, I mean, he's not the fastest striker in the world, and I think we mentioned this on the preview show that like he's not super flashy. I mean, he's technical, but he takes his time and he more follows a game plan and sees it to fruition.
He really just has like a big hook, is how he finishes.
Exactly, and when he gets that hook, he just keeps throwing it. It just gets harder and harder to evade it. I will say that Pedro Munoz was starting to put 2 and 2 together towards the third round and start to defend well against what Zahabi was throwing with those big overhands, and then starting to land with some combinations of his own and keeping the fight competitive. But I think Zahabi had already won 2 rounds going into that third, and so he still ended up winning the fight. But Zahabi just has a very unorthodox style, and it's usually what gets him through. He has had his finishes, though. He has had knockouts before, so don't think that he's just going to have a weird style that gets him towards the finish line in the win like Dominic Cruz. Like he does have power and weird ass strikes that can put you out. So he's still dangerous, but if this guy's in a 5-round fight, I really don't know what's going to happen to Amin Zahabi then. I think there's someone who's going to beat him if the fight is 5 rounds. But 3-round fights, Zahabi, you should favor him in quite a few of them. He's solid.
So some matchups for him in and around his ranking on Tapology here. Below him are guys like Chris Gutierrez, Montel Jackson, and Vinicius Oliveira. I think any of those fights would be fantastic.
Yeah, give him any of those.
Above him is a guy like Saeed Nurmagomedov, who hasn't fought since last year. But somebody who is like on a similar booking schedule to him is Kyler Phillips. I wouldn't hate that fight either.
Yeah, he said he wanted to jump up the rankings. He wanted a contender next, so Kyler Phillips is a contender. Zahabi fights like a wuss.
WMC says he fights like a wuss. That's hilarious.
Yikes. Still wins, though.
But again, like you're fighting Pedro Munoz, who is defensively sound and going to back up a majority of the fight. So, like, I didn't hate the performance from him, but yeah, a tough guy to look good against Pedro Munoz, and he did look good against him. Didn't look amazing, but
yeah.
I like the performance from him nonetheless. So yeah, a fight that was pretty terrible, really bad, was Mike Malott versus Trevin Giles. So yeah, Mike Malott, man, just and I said heading into this fight that there was questions about how Mike Malott would perform in this spot, being that he did get TKO'd late into a fight in his last fight against Neil Magny, who always beats these prospects, but he looked amazing up till the loss. So I was like, I don't know exactly what he's going to look like coming into this, hence why I picked him by decision. I did not expect him to be so tentative, and it's partly Trevin Giles' fault too, because he looked very tentative too when he would go forward and throw strikes. I mean, Trevin Giles, I forgot, he is incredibly fast with his hands, and he was piecing up Mike Malott at points in this fight. But Mike Malott stayed at distance, got the kicks. Super terrible, weird fight, and he even said in his post-fight speech that he just wanted to get a win. Sorry, it wasn't exciting. I just wanted to get a win. So
At least he admitted it.
Horrible performance from Mike Malott, but he gets back in the win column, so good for him, I guess. And as Hank the Tank said, Canada, one of their boys won. So
yeah, that's all they asked for. But at the same time, towards the end of that fight, the crowd was chanting Giles, Giles, and booing the shit out of Mike Malott. So I don't know if he's gonna get that same warm reception next time he shows up in Canada. But UFC fans tend to have a pretty short-term memory. So maybe they're going to cheer for Mikey regardless if he shows up on the next card, and especially if they have him doing his little promo before the fight starts and he gets the crowd riled up. Then maybe they'll forgive him just a little bit. But Mike Malott, yeah, he kicked at range. He looked more like a kickboxer than a striker grappler hybrid, and just had a bunch of flying leg kicks from way far away. Tried to hit him with a few jabs. Honestly, there were very little head strikes in the whole thing. And Trevin Giles, like I honestly said, and I said this during the post show, I honestly think it was a risky decision of Mike Malott to risque, yes, auga of Mike Malott to just throw himself out there, and it's really like scandalous. There were children watching, for God's sake. But yeah, I mean, he kept himself very far away, but that also kept the rounds pretty close. Like, he won the rounds, but not by much. There was very little strikes in this fight, and Giles, every once in a while, he was able to get through the guard of Malott, but mostly the output of Malott from far away is what won him the matchup. But dude, if there were any moments where Giles like knocked Malott down during an exchange, like, he could have easily lost this fight. So if anything, Mike got very lucky that his approach wasn't figured out as the fight went on. But yeah, it seemed to work. Made sure that he didn't get finished. Honestly, I think he still could have found a way to get finished, given just how little he was putting into that fight. Yeah. But hey, it worked out at the end of the day. And then he apologized to the fans. He's still a super nice guy. And I don't entirely blame him for wanting to win a fight for himself. But hopefully this is not the Mike Malott we deal with in the foreseeable future. Otherwise, we've got a new Ian Gary at welterweight.
Yeah, and again, it's like people are so like, you're only as good as your last fight, right? So as of right now, his stock has dropped a lot. You can even see Batua saying, Mike Allove lost Malott. Proper shit fight.
Today.
No, and I mean, you were high on him coming into this fight. You said he'd get a knockout, even
a submission. You get the knockdown, then
sorry, a finish. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. We just gotta wait and see. Speaking of that, like, what do you want to see next for him? They have him at 32 here at welterweight in the rankings. Definitely like a draw to some level. But I don't know. I mean, just kind of browsing through. You got D-Rod. I think that would be a good fight just in general.
Yeah. They're both power punchers.
Further down the rankings, there's Themba Garimbo a little closer to him, but that fight's gonna suck ass.
Ugh, I hate that.
It might not be that bad though, just considering.
You can never tell with Garimbo. You can never tell with Garimbo.
Yeah. So up above him would be a guy like Jake Matthews, who another prospect who
I like that fight.
Hasn't performed how he should.
Yeah. That'd be a good test for both of them.
Gunny Nelson. And
Where
I
is
think
he, dude? It's been forever since we've seen Gunnar Nelson.
he fought last year against Brian Barberena. Got a quick sub.
Of course.
Gabriel Bonfim, and then the Leech, Max Payne. Yeah, I think that's probably stops there.
Yeah. I like him and Jake Matthews.
Yeah, D-Rod or Jake Matthews, I think is
Yeah.
is an okay fight, regardless. But yeah, he's just got to get. Oh yeah, this is a good point. He says, give him someone that will pressure the fuck out of him. Yeah,
Let's see what he does.
I agree.
Under pressure.
I think D-Rod will bring that fight to him.
Yeah,
but
usually does
down the rankings quite a bit.
But he's also a football player.
The next fight was Dustin Stoltzfus knocking Marc-Andre Barriault out really fast. Stoltzfus immediately. I mean, it looked like he may have hurt Marc-Andre, but then he immediately just takes him down, grinds him out. Marc-Andre gets up, and we're like, okay, here we go. Marc-Andre gets up because the fight sucked. The first round sucked up to this point.
Yeah. And literally, there was a moment where the referee could have easily stood them up. Like, it took them like a whole 2 minutes. How long was it? It was like 3 minutes for Marc-Andre to get up. Like, the referee could have.
Yeah, it took a while. He finally gets up. We're like, oh shit, here we go. And they start swinging like fucking crazy. I think Marc-Andre was against the cage, and they just start swinging like fucking crazy. Marc-Andre has no defense in this spot, and he just swinging him away, and the right cross comes from Dustin Stoltzfus, and it just fucking puts him basically out cold, and Dustin gets a few hammer fists to just finish the seal. Vicious fucking knockout from Dustin Stoltzfus of all people. And I said this in the preview show. I was like, because I was so torn on who to pick.
Yeah,
Hank was convinced me. All right, I'm gonna go with Marc-Andre, but I was like, who fucking knows? Like, Marc-Andre has been known to fumble the bag. The last person he knocked out was Julian Marquez, who is a notorious bag fumbler.
Yeah,
fumbling the bag against Miley Cyrus. Who does that? I could fuck Miley Cyrus tomorrow if I wanted to, but why would I do that? I don't want STDs.
That's a party in the USA right there.
But yeah, I was like, there's a chance that Dustin Stoltzfus could knock him out. I really don't know who's gonna win, and lo and behold, Dustin Stoltzfus gets a fucking knockout in a hilarious way. And we needed this knockout. I think this is the only knockout of the entire card. So
yeah,
thank you, Dustin Stoltzfus, for saving this card. As much as you tried to, you couldn't. But thank you for an exciting finish, sir. And I will not doubt you as much moving forward.
Ever again, we are picking Dustin Stoltzfus every single fights in that cage from now on. We may never see him lose again, troopers and grinders. But, Marc-Andre Barriault, he tripped at the start of the fight, and Dustin Stoltzfus was like, it's free real estate. And he wouldn't let go. The referee refused to stand him up. And of course, we just thought to ourselves, man, they're getting into the pocket. They're trading. This is Marc-Andre Barriault's thing. This is what he does. He always wins the exchanges. Bam, big right hand. It reminded me of this old UFC finish where like this guy got a huge shovel uppercut. The guy's already dead. He's been like flatlined for 5 seconds. And he does like one little and the referee, all right, that's enough. And he just, Marc-Andre Barriault died. The power bar went to fucking 0, and he hit him with a few hammer shots, Francis Ngannou style, when he didn't need to. Dustin Stoltzfus, and I said this in Skatesman's chat, I said, Dustin Stoltzfus is a better power puncher than Joe Pyfer is. Look at what he did. Look at what he did to Marc-Andre Barriault so easily. So now we know that if Dustin Stoltzfus decided to take the most powerful punch machine, you know, that Alex Pereira and Joe Pyfer practiced with, bam, he would have broken the record so easily, man. So
I mean, I think it was more due to Marc-Andre just swinging away, you know, and just getting caught. So
that is true. But
I'm not going to match mix.
Never doubt Dustin, okay? Gilly Goose Gang.
Matua says Dustin looked dope, aggressive, grappling. Dustin got caught a little bit, able to find the mark. Great physique, looks strong. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. This is a disaster on all ends. But yeah, I mean, Dustin dominated the first round and gets a knockout, so good for him. Both fighters missed like 5 punches during that last stand. But Dustin Stoltzfus versus Piper would be cool. Adolfo
Did you
Vieira.
know? Did you know, Skatesman, that Dustin Stoltzfus and Joe Pyfer actually fought each other on Dana White's Contender Series?
Oh, okay. No.
They did.
He knocked
It's
out to be like
yes,
Joe Piper?
yes. So now Joe Pyfer is calling for the rematch between the two of them.
Sure he is.
They,
I think he's already booked.
They both knocked out Marc-Andre Barrial. It's the matchup everybody wants to see. Two middleweight goats going at it, you know?
Look at that. Matua wants it back. No, Piper
Yes.
knocked him out. That was the be like Joe Piper moment.
Yes, sir. He
So
was like Joe Pyfer here.
A historic moment for me. I picked an Ariane Lipski fight correctly. I got it right. I said Jasmine would win. She wins. I had her by decision. She did not look good until she finally got a takedown. And this fight actually mirrored the co-main event pretty nicely because, again, she just wasn't doing good on the feet. Has terrible hands. But when she did get Ariane down, like Ariane did literally nothing, fuck all. And she gets subbed in the third round because of it. Terrible performance from Ariane. Not a good performance from Jasmine, but she does get the win and gets a sub nonetheless, gets a finish, so good for her. But I think Ariane's days in the UFC,
numbered.
like, again, I hate doing this where it's like the story of the fight is like what Ariane didn't do and not what Jasmine did in the cage, but
right.
I think Ariane's days are numbered in the UFC, and really it's just kind of sad watching her get just dominated in grappling sequences because she has really good kickboxing. And I think that she's a prime prospect for karate combat.
Yeah, put her in karate combat. Queen, dude, God of fucking Queen of Violence. It would be a great nickname to have for her in karate combat, or have her in BKFC. That'd be pretty good as well. But yeah, the thing with Jasmine Jasuda Vicious is I absolutely wasn't surprised with her performance here. Skatesman seemed a little disappointed. Like, yeah, I can't really say that much about what Jasmine did in this fight. You could say that about any fight that Jazzy J has. Like, she always stumbles and bumbles on the feet, always gets pieced up just a little bit, and then she realizes, oh wait, I can actually take my opponents down. This is great. And then once she's on top, that's where she dominates. And so it always takes her a little bit to start up, sort of like the Joshua Vans and the Peter Yans of the world. But once she gets into that second and third round, look out, man. She is trouble on top, and she will not let you go, my darling. And locks in the sub. Doris choke, round 3. Great positioning of the leg, making sure to keep the leg of Lipski Da Silva. Not Ariane Lipski. It is Da Silva. She is still, ever since the Da Silva arc, it's all been downhill from there. The decline of Ariane Lipski. Da Silva caused it all. That the fact that she was able to hook that leg of Lipski Da Silva was super impressive to make sure she couldn't get out. Yeah, and Jasmine's just a fucking monster on the ground, and absolutely atrocious on the feet. So eventually she is going to get exposed, but we have not seen that yet.
I don't think that she's atrocious on the feet. I think that the bigger problem is like she's so good in the grappling, and I think she's 35 in the weight class. So it's like, yeah, there's not a lot of room for improvement. And we'll talk about a similar thing in the co-main events. Like, you got to stick with what you know at that stage in the game, in my opinion.
Exactly.
So, I don't hate her fights. But she did look pretty bad. But I also think that's due to just Da Silva is she's so good on the feet, and that's why I want to see her in a promotion or at least booked in matchups where like she can show that,
Mm-hmm.
Jasmine is active on the floor. Timed her entry behind a combination, perfect.
She's great at entry.
Okay. So the next fight was extremely disappointing. And honestly, like, because of what Malat did earlier in the card, Caio Machado he did the same shit that Mike Malat did, but he lost the decision. Was really weird.
Brother.
I had Caio winning the fight, like pretty handily. But again, you can't get upset over who wins a fight and who doesn't in a fight where nobody does much of anything. And this was one of those fights. Caio Machado backing up for most of the fight, landing decent strikes when he did, and then fucking Brenson Ribeiro like just winging punches, just winging him, trying to find Caio, who was very tentative the entire fight on the back foot, and somehow Brenton Romero gets the decision to win. Like, I don't know. I didn't see it, but again, nobody did much of anything in this just fucking awful fight that we had like two power punchers, guys that get sick knockouts, and nothing happened. So yeah, terrible, shitty fight.
It's to be expected. There were moments where Ribeiro, and it's so weird. Actually, it actually makes a lot of sense as to why he won the decision. It seems like the Canadian judges, when they see a Canadian, when they see a fighter win the first round and start to break down over the second and third, they're like, "Yeah, but he was so good at the start. Come on, he's great." So they're
It's
just
like it's like reverse pride rules.
Yes, exactly. So they let the first round cloud their judgments. And despite him hitting, Kyle a few times in the first round, and then Kyle immediately responded by pulling a Mike Malott and getting some kicks at range, and then making sure to run away when Brenson was throwing together his combinations for the second and third rounds, which honestly won him the fight, had better output, and it was a split. To be fair, it was a split, but the split, it's always bullshit, splitty city that goes the way of the fighter that we don't want to win the fight. And we wanted him to win because our picks were riding on Brenton Ribeiro getting the win. But at the same time, who we knew lost the fight was Ribeiro, and unfortunately, that didn't happen.
I thought that Kyle fought great, and I thought he had a great game plan.
Kept
in the
himself
power
safe.
of Brenton, but he just wasn't able to capitalize on it. I don't know. I really did think he won the fight, but yeah, again, it's just like the fight was fucking just objectively horrible.
Mid.
I think Paradox makes a fantastic point. I thought Ribeiro could get it via his punches looking cooler. Yeah, exactly. Like he was trying harder, I guess. I don't know.
He's a try hard.
But again, it's like I thought Trevin Giles did better work in the Mike Malott fight. Like he was the one really pressuring Mike Malott. I just kind of knew Mike Malott wasn't going to lose that decision. But yeah, I mean, it was a similar fight, and yeah, it didn't make sense.
Let's just keep moving, man.
Won, but he didn't do enough. Exactly. Subpar technique, lackluster approach by both. Deport these two. Wow.
Well, they're in Brazil, so if anything, if you deported them from Brazil, they'd go into the U.S. So I don't know if you want them here. So,
all right. So here was what Hank the Tank and I were in first place on Tapology leading up to this. Mm-hmm. This was the deciding factor. And just before the fight happened, I predicted this fight exactly correct. I just switched the names up. So,
yeah.
But yeah, Erin Blanchfield gets it done over Rose Namajunas. Yeah, good for her. It was, the first round, I was going like, what is Erin Blanchfield doing? This is how she lost the Manon Fiorot fight. Second round, basically repeat of the first. And then by the third, she finally actually successfully gets a takedown, holds Rose down for a majority of the round. But Rose did some good work on the feet in the first half of the third round, and Erin Blanchfield wasn't able to land anything of significance, do any damage. So I thought there was a case to be made for Rose winning the third round. And actually a lot of, if you go to MMA Decisions and you look at who scored the fight for who, a lot of media members actually did score the fight for Rose, which I didn't hate. I thought it would be a split, but second and third round, the pressure of Erin Blanchfield, like in the second round, she was the one pressuring Rose, but Rose would just land like one nice hook and then get out of the way.
Yeah, get the counter.
Movement was fantastic. In and out. But by the fourth and fifth, that started to break down. The pressure of Erin Blanchfield got to her, and she was able to actually land like a couple strikes in exchanges when Rose was trying to get out. And won her the fourth and fifth, man. And it was really just riding on that third round. All three judges gave Erin Blanchfield the last 3 rounds, and that gets her the win. So
yeah, I think Rose was slicker on the feet at first. Like Skatesman said, Blanchfield looked a lot like she did in her Tyler Santos and Manon Fiorot fights, where it's all about the striking. I am a striker now, and when I need to, I get the takedowns. Like that is my safety valve, but before that's my escape plan. But first and foremost, I want to prove that I'm a great striker in the flyweight division, and it never really works out for her. including here where Rose Namajunas was stuffing all her takedowns first couple of rounds, making sure that she was that she was good at countering everything that Blanchfield did and being smart with it, making sure she wasn't. What?
She fought Rose Namajunas fought fucking beautifully in the first 2 rounds.
Exactly. Yeah. Super slick. I will say Skatesman during the fight said that she had a welt over her eye that developed in like the 3rd round, 4th round. She had that welt actually from the start. Like first 2 minutes, 3 minutes, I could see the discoloration on her face, but it started to get worse and worse as the fight went on. Blanchfield got very lucky towards the second half of the 3rd round where she was finally able to get a takedown on Rose Namajunas. And dude, it's just been so long since I've seen Blanchfield on top of another atop of another fighter doing, and she wasn't even doing damage either.
That sounds a little sexual to me.
Yeah, no Diddy, man. No, actually no Jones. You'd prefer that. But yeah, she wasn't that effective on top. I was surprised the referee didn't stand them up at some point. It still won her the 3rd round because, you know, women's MMA. And the woman on top towards the end of the round is going to be the one who's favored. But I will say what really won Blanchfield this fight was using the feint of the takedown after she got it to make Rose sort of, you know, react. And that's when she would really come in with 1-2s and quick combinations and actually looked like a solid striker for once. And that's how she won against Tyler Santos as well, is that she would pressure her up against the cage.
Close fight as well.
But she would go from takedowns into combinations on the feet. And she did a lot of the same towards the second half of this fight. And I will say that it was a matter of, and I won't call it luck, but I will say it's really impressive that she was able to get takedown in round 3, takedown in round 4, takedown in round 5. Like she was actually starting to put it together and finding different ways to get the takedown. So I will say it was a fantastic effort from Erin Blanchfield to bring back 3 rounds against Thug Rose over a 5-round fight, which is usually Rose Namajunas' backyard. But she beat her at her own game. So I got to give Erin Blanchfield credit. But bad luck for Rose Namajunas that she didn't win one of those last 3 rounds. But it comes down to the timing of the takedown sometimes.
What's up, MMA Highlight?
Good to see you
here. I thought it was extremely impressive, though the fight was not very good. I thought it was extremely impressive to see a young 25-year-old Erin Blanchfield be able to switch things up mid-fight. And again, like, I'm not high on her championship prospects at the current moment. I do believe that she can develop eventually into something really special in the game, but I don't see her being a champ. But it was just so cool to see her make that mid-fight adjustment, and that's what makes champions in this game, is who can make the adjustments mid-fight in a close fight. Super sick to see her able to make the adjustment, get the win in a close match. I did think the 3rd round was a swing round, but and so moving forward, like, she's got to fight Alexa Grasso, right? Erin Blanchfield.
Yeah.
That's the only fight you can make because she's already lost to Manon Fiorot. Valentina Shevchenko not going to fucking fight her and shouldn't. Manon Fiorot is the number 1 contender. That's the only fight that should be made for the belt. But yeah, I mean, she's got to fight Alexa Grasso. I don't see any other fight making.
And if she sticks to the fight approach she took towards the second half of this fight with Rose, I could actually see her beating Grasso too, because Grasso did not look good in that 3rd fight with Valentina. She was just getting taken down at will and had absolutely nothing to do on bottom.
Didn't try to stand up once.
I honestly think Rose is a bigger threat to her. So
I like the fight. I think that's a good fight. And I also think that, like, especially taking in the last Alexa Grasso fight against Valentina. But I do think that's a closer fight than it maybe sounds just based off of their last 2 performances.
Yeah.
Obviously Alexa coming off a loss, but still, it's the only fight that makes sense.
How do you think she does against, because you said that you don't see her as champion. How do you, let's say that she dominates Grasso on top, actually becomes a wrestler again. Now she's the number 1 contender against Valentina. How do you see that fight playing out between a pretty great grappler when she wants to be, but not great on the feet, at least at the start, against Valentina, who's now becoming more and more dependent on her takedowns and is probably going to be slower on the feet going into that fight?
So again, like, she's 25. So
Yeah.
She's got a lot of time to improve. And this is kind of the point I was making in the Jasmine, the Jazzy J fight is like, Jazzy J's not going to, she needs to stick to what she knows. As far as Erin Blanchfield goes, I love the pressure that she's able to apply in fights, but she gets clipped for her troubles. And that's what you saw in the Manon Fiorot fight. So, like, that's especially why I don't see her as champion, right? Because she's already lost to Manon, who is the number one contender.
He's better.
Might belt next. Yeah, much better. So as far as a fight with her and Valentina, like, I think she loses pretty handily. She might win one round, but yeah, I don't think Valentina's gonna. I think she's a little bit more of a dynamic striker.
Yeah, she's not dynamic.
Than Rose Namajunas. She's a much bigger woman than Rose is. But yeah, I think she loses that fight pretty handily.
Let's keep going through some comments.
Well, no, she's gonna keep making improvements. One thing I wanted to talk about before we get to the main event is what's next for Rose, because this is her second number one contenders fight. You know, again, Manon Fiorot is, but the next number one contender that she's lost, and like, where does she go from here? My first thoughts is like, you gotta fucking leave Pat Barry. His coaching and the coaching staff she has currently makes no sense. Why would she have ever left Trevor Whitman's fight camp? Makes absolutely no fucking sense to me. But again, she's a name. She's not gonna get that title opportunity anytime soon, fighting these 125ers, which, by the way, in my opinion, is the best women's division in the sport right now. Sorry, 115. But I think she'd have better chances of getting a double champ status fight if she goes back to 115 and wins the belt there.
That is true. Yeah, and we've talked about it before that she's beaten a lot of the best strawweights there are in the UFC right now. But I don't know. She'd have to divorce Pat Barry in order to get rid of him as a coach, and I don't see that happening. So she's probably going to keep making some stupid mistakes, and you know what is going to happen? She's going to turn into a Jessica Andrade, where there's no one path for her, and she's just going to go between strawweight, strawweight, and flyweight, and just be in limbo forever.
I think that she'll probably stay at 125 and keep taking L's.
Yeah, I think so. But that being said, maybe her and Macy Barber, since they were going to fight before, and then that fight got canceled. Put them together
and
again.
You always have the third Andrade fight out there. Like, it's always there. So.
That is true. Why not?
Thug threw nice combos, had good grappling defense with a hip throw in the first and second. She had good traps for Blanchfield. She made Erin run into her punches. Super cool. Yeah, just wasn't able to maintain it. I think it's a lot due to the pressure that Erin Blanchfield applied.
Bad luck.
I missed that fight, but I thought Rose would KO her, but it seems Blanchfield grinded out the win. Yeah, it's exactly what happened. I think that Thug Rose's defense to try to sweep Erin and wrestle back up her feet made Erin look like she is not doing damage. Well, she wasn't doing any. That's the biggest problem, is she's not able to do anything when she does get the takedowns as far as damage goes. But she did have her in the crucifix at one point, but even then, like, there wasn't. I mean, she was landing elbows, but they weren't vicious. Natalia Silva, yeah, I mean, she's got next, but again, it's like, not right now. Not right now.
Yeah.
If the Alexa Grasso fight can't come together, sure, but just not right now. I think that Natalia Silva needs at least one more win in the division before she really starts talking about getting those fights for number one contendership. So yeah, we moved to the main event, last fight of the card. Brandon Moreno versus Amir Albazi. I said in the preview show, like, we don't know what Amir Albazi is going to look like. It's hard to even remember his fights for me personally, because I just haven't seen him in so long. A guy who's dealt with so many injuries, heart surgery,
spinal surgery.
Moreno. Yeah, like, just, we had no idea what he would look like. I thought that the fight would be at least competitive, and it was, like, at certain times, but dude, this was a straight up beat down for 25 minutes. Brandon Moreno beat the absolute dog shit out of Amir Albazi, but I mean, dude, you got to give Amir credit, dude. He would never, though he did demoralized at times in his in the corner, he never stopped fighting. He never gave up on himself, though he almost got finished a few times. Just a fucking showcase for Brandon Moreno, and you got to be happy for him, because though he didn't get the knockout, he mauled poor old Amir Albazi, man. It was just a beatdown. It was kind of hard to watch,
Brutal.
honestly.
Brutal.
Points.
Yeah, and I'm just shocked that he never went down when he got stumbled like 4 times in this fight, which is just crazy. But, to Skatesman's point, at the start of round 3, he dropped Moreno as well. Stumbled him, put him on wobbly legs. The power is apparently there from Amir Albazi, and to Skatesman's point as well, like, he just has so few fights that it's very hard to recall what Amir Albazi's attributes really are as a fighter, since he's just so inactive, obviously for pretty serious reasons. But he still looked pretty energetic in this fight against Brandon Moreno. He at least tried to make it competitive in the first couple of rounds, but Moreno was clearly piecing him up, putting his combinations together. I'm really happy we got the old Moreno back, because honestly, as a fan of his, it was just hard seeing him just throw an overhand. And he doesn't even try to grapple against Brandon Royval, and he looks like a fucking fish out of water at elevation against a short notice opponent.
Not only
And
that,
it's just not his fault.
Brandon Moreno is the type of fighter that, like, he has so much swag when he's fighting.
Yeah, exactly.
He always does the same type of thing, like where he's just getting into a groove, and if he's not in the groove, he has hard time like switching it up and making those adjustments. So when he starts rolling downhill on you, you're fucked.
Yeah. He was doing that from the start here. He was a fucking snowball right on the top of the hill. And he just
so I think that was kind of the problem in some of his losses, is he just kept the swagger up, kept doing like stupid shit where it's like, you're losing the fight. Like, you can't be doing all this swagger bullshit. But yeah, here in this spot,
to be
one
fair,
thing I did want to say is that there was always like the idea that Amir could land a big shot.
Yeah, and put Moreno down. But it just seemed to me like Moreno started to use some of the weapons that made him a world champion in the first place, and that he was putting together the body and the leg kicks from far away, and then it wasn't just an overhand. When he needed to, he found the overhand, but it was like 1-2s down the pipe, through the guard, uppercut, just whatever he could find, like, to get through the guard of Amir Albazi, he was doing. Really, like, the only thing that was stopping him from winning this outright and getting a decisive result was just the chin of Amir Albazi and his ability to just persevere and just keep pressuring forward on Brandon Moreno, obviously to no avail. And the 4th round and 5th round were especially brutal for Albazi. It's just, I got to look at the significant strike numbers, but Moreno was just piecing him up towards the end of that.
Ridiculous. I think it was like something like by the second round, for the first 10 minutes, he only landed 9 strikes. And Brandon Moreno had already landed like 50. So it's like,
yeah,
it's fucking A, dude.
Yeah. Brandon Moreno tuned him up like a fucking piano here. And honestly, I'm just happy to see it. I'm glad that we finally have the Moreno that can actually be unorthodox and not just rely on one weapon over. I thought that we were going to get that same Moreno going into this fight. It's because I was so distrustful of Albazi after all the surgeries that I still picked Moreno. And given that a lot of fan favorites on these shows have been getting absolutely squashed like bugs in the main event, it's understandable to not pick Moreno as well. That's why Paradox the Chad picked Amir Albazi, which blew up in his face. But Moreno, yeah, he just became the old Moreno again. We are so back, baby. Got to keep that swagger and still be fast on the feet. So sky's the limit for Moreno again. I thought we'd never get to this spot, but he needed to win this fight.
A lot of people's parlays died in this fight too. Can you believe so many people had Amir Albazi as the last leg of their parlay?
So dumb. Yeah, I mean, and I don't want to, spit on people's graves. Like, they're dealing with enough of the pain from the losing this, but Amir Albazi lost to Kai Kara-France. People forget, man. People forget. He was failing takedowns against Kai Kara-France and getting beat up on the feet. People forget, man. So, yeah, he's never really looked good. I mean, maybe in the early days when he was entering the rankings, but not since.
So, we got to talk about what's next for both men. Some people throwing out some good matchmaking. WMC says we're going to do Albazi versus Urseg. Why not?
Sure.
I think more importantly, like, what's next for Moreno? I think he's on Tetsuro Taira duty.
Really? Even coming off of a loss against Royval?
Yeah, totally. I mean, seriously, it's a fresh matchup.
That's
in
true.
the division. Like what are we gonna do? Fucking do another rematch? Like
That's true.
another rematch for Brandon Moreno? Come on, dude. I think he should be on Tetsuya retire duty myself.
Who do you think? Who do you think wins that matchup between those two?
I don't know. I mean, I think Tetsuya Retara has a case to win, but obviously right now I'm picking Moreno to win.
I think Moreno gets it done as well. I think he's even more flashy and scary on the feet than Royval is.
Yeah, I agree.
Royval's scary too. So, but
yeah, I mean, what do you want to see next from Moreno?
Now that you mention it, Tyra would be good, but if I were to book Moreno in a rematch, I would do his rematch with Kai Kara France because that was a great fight as long as it lasted. It'd be fun. He caught him with a body kick. That's how he put him out, but it was highly competitive all the way through going into that.
So you realize, though, that would be the third time they've fought.
Jesus fucking Christ.
This
division's shallow.
And the only reason that I remember that, the only reason I know that is because the very first pay-per-view I ever watched was Adesanya versus Whitaker, and that was one of the fights on the prelims.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So I guess put him up against Tyra. I guess you have to.
Matua says this version of Brandon Moreno beats Pantoja or Asakura. I don't know. I don't know who's beating Pantoja. Myself personally, but
he's never done it.
What's that?
He's never done it. He's never done it. In 3 fights, he hasn't been able to do it.
Oh, guys, so that would be the 4th time they fought if Brandon Moreno fights him again. Oh my
new quadrilogy at flyweight, folks. Can you believe
Albazi versus Urseg is fun. I don't know. I just want to see Amir Albazi like take 6 months off. He got beat the fuck up in this fight, and just fight anybody. I don't give a fuck who he fights. Probably or Perez. Yeah, not a bad fight. Perez, the uncrowned champ. Albazi's attributes is his sweet physique. Damn, Urseg is ranked 9th. Yeah, fall from grace.
Injustice.
Beautiful torture session from Moreno. Moreno
does not like him.
Oh yeah, Moreno's break served him well. I think he only took 8 months off. So,
which is smart.
Not much better than ever. Need Asakura to win. Yeah,
he won't.
We do, but he's not. He's gonna get mauled by fucking Pantoja, dude. That's gonna suck ass.
Can you imagine the one big upset that everybody wants on this for this year ends up being Asakura of all people beating Pantoja?
That'd be sick. I love it. It's just not gonna happen.
Yeah, I know. That'd be like Strickland beating Adesanya. You know,
it would be sick. It would be sick, but
it's got to happen one of these days. We got to have a crazy ass upset one of these days.
Moreno hasn't fought Kai twice. Yeah, he has.
Your Skatesman remembers. He always remembers.
He literally has fought him twice, and I think he's beat him both times. So, I would love the fight, but it's the third fight. You know, it's like, I mean, again, like the fights happen far enough apart because that first fight was in 2019.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's a flyweight thing.
Don't fucking do this to me, Paradox. I know what I'm talking about. Damn, I've been watching UFC for one pay-per-view longer than Idaho.
Wow.
What was the pay-per-view before that? Was it I don't know what it was. Because I think that I can't remember what number pay-per-view that was. But yeah, tell me what it was. Now I'm curious. Because I started watching because of I was listening to the fight Poirier and Khabib. I see.
Wow, that's a big one.
I was listening to Gaethje versus Cowboy, and I didn't watch it, but I was just listening. And I was like, they're like, Justin Gaethje knocks out Cowboy Cerrone. I was like, oh shit! All right, I gotta start watching this shit. So, but yeah, flyweight division is doomed. It's doomed. Fortunately,
it's always been.
Please come save us.
He won't. Eventually he's going to make his fortune. Eventually Pantoja is going to retire and go to 1, but not now.
This is pissing me off. I kind of need to prove to Paradox the Chad here that
after these messages,
this is the third fight. You can stall. You can scramble.
I can, yes, but my get up ability from takedowns is not the best, but I can work the footwork. You know, I could get up. Well, either that or I'm the Robellis to Spain of scrambling in these exchanges.
Did you hear he's going to karate combat?
Who? Oh, what, to Spain?
Yeah.
That's fitting. Go. Actually, God, dude, can you imagine him getting taken down in karate combat and just being like, "Ugh, finish me already." He'd still find a way to get taken down and get grounded and pounded for the KO. No Jones.
Hold on a second.
Rewatched that fight the other day, and it didn't say 2.
Hold on a second. I think he's right.
Check the records, little bro.
Whoa, little bro.
Fought Kai in 2019 and 2022 says Matuas. So
it was Royval he fought. No.
Mandela effect for the Skatesman.
Oh shit! It was Halle and Paiva he fought on that card.
Wow. Well, there you go. Finally, Skatesman was proven wrong on this podcast. Can you believe it?
I'm
the
wrong.
day would never come.
Dude, it was either one of those fuckers fought on that card. I guess I'm wrong.
It was going to be one thing. It was either going to be Skatesman actually having a wrong take or Pantoja losing the flyweight belt. Which one was going to come first? And it ended up being Skatesman being wrong. Can't believe it.
He fought Kai in 2019 and 2022. That's what I thought, but I'm looking through it. 2019.
You just look up Brandon Moreno. Hold on.
I'm looking through it. Usman Covington, 2019. He beat him by decision.
Jesus,
dude, he body kicked him and fucking smoked him.
Yes, and that was in 2022.
Okay, yeah. He did fight him twice. It was the Usman Covington card. Yes. I'm right again.
No, God damn it. He's going to be number 1 on Tapology fucking League when I'm leading the entire time. He always finds a fucking way back. He is inevitable. He's like every season of fucking Succession. God damn it.
Yes. There we go. Okay. That's it. We gave you guys an hour and a half on this fucking terrible card. Don't know what else to say. Fight sucked. Card sucked. What do we have to look forward to next week, Hank?
Well, first of all, you got to look forward to Hank's Tank Tier List Tuesday. I got the most brutal injuries in MMA history for you. Then on Wednesday, we got Hank's Think Tank, as we always do. And then Idaho Skatesman and Hank the Tank will be previewing Protez versus Magny, the matchup we've all been waiting for, along with Boots, and not Boots from Dora the Explorer, Jaron Evans. Boots taking on
Jaron Evans,
taking on Karen.
Jaron Evans. Who's Jaron Evans?
Jaron Ennis. Jaron
Ennis.
It's gingivitis. Taking on Karen, a Ukrainian Karen for the IBF World Welterweight title. And we've also got good old Malikin in one. Taking on
2 1 cards, Friday fights, and one 169, which, by the way, their number cards always suck. Somehow they try to put together a big card and it always blows. So yeah, Malikin and Rug for some god awful reason.
Rugrat
big card, octagon card, fight night. Yeah. Hopefully it's a better weekend for MMA than what's been. There is a deep card tonight if you feel like staying up all night, because I don't have work tomorrow. So I know.
Yeah, I ain't doing that.
I have work tomorrow. So but yeah, I'll probably be watching deep till about 7 in the morning. So there you go.
It'll be productive.
Any closing thoughts on the weekend?
I surprisingly had a good time. I don't know how I was able to do it, but I'm finally happy. All right.
Oh, God.
Great.
How? I know how. Because you weren't watching fights on camera for fucking 6.5 hours.
Yep. I don't know. I don't know what it could be. It could be that. Maybe. It could be that fighters that I liked finally won more often.
Well, now we have a few more people in here. Like, what do you guys want to see? Do you want to see Hank the Tank's vicious crash out stream and mental anguish, or would you rather me just calmly commentate the fights the entire time?
Who will the chat pick?
Well, we should do a community. You should make a community post.
Yes. And I'll be like, what do you fuckers want? Is Hank's crash
Either
out?
way, nobody's gonna show up.
Skatesman's
You know,
logic.
4 people in the chat the entire time.
Yeah. All right. What kind of stream do you 3 motherfuckers want to see? Is the question.
Yeah, you got to tell us. But make a community post. We'll talk about it later.
I know they're going to make crash outs.
I think it's time to get out of here.
All right. You have escaped the war zone for now. Dustin Stoltzfus is a future middleweight GOAT. He knocked out Barrial in more impressive fashion than Joe Pyfer. You got to put those two together. There can be only one. Emaciated ginger Chad with a beard. Be the middleweight guy. Put him up against DM3. Hey, damn it. Dustin Stoltzfus. He's going to get it done, dude. It's going to be... He's gonna take on Terrible. It's gonna be great. Then put him against Cannoneer. And then he chin stricken and he chin Tom's out shoes.